The flow of life. I wonder what we mean by the flow of life. Aren't we always in the flow of life? So why would we question, are we in the flow? Sometimes life feels different than other times, doesn't it? And don't sometimes you just know you're in the flow? Things are really going, and it's perfect. To me, the word flow smacks of non-resistance, of a freedom, of things that are going on, and it seems just perfect for us. And so when we're in the flow of life, we know that everything is working just so. And then, just like it was sung, it is well with my soul. We know we're in the flow. So thank you, Honeymoon, for reminding us it can be well with our soul no matter what's going on. Some people would say, play the hand you're dealt. Whatever happens in life, you have to play that hand, right? Other people with a 12-step background would be saying, accept life on life's terms. So you can say it however you want. Whatever we do in life, things are always going to change. No matter how much you love your life right now, it's going to change. So get ready for it and embrace the next change. We don't have to fight against it. When we allow it, when we have that non-resistance in our lives, life can flow so much easier. Because it's going to flow anyway. So really, are we going to go with the flow? I loved Catherine's meditation, where we're laying on our back and just letting the universe support us, the water support us. Are we going to go with that kind of flow? Or are we going to be fighting against it? Slapping our arms around because, oh my gosh, I might sink here. I can't relax enough. And haven't you seen people that are like that in life? There's all this commotion going on. And it's like, just relax. Just relax. On a physical plane, I will grant you that there are things that make us feel separate from each other and separate from spirit. Those things happen in life. And so our life is really about how are we going to navigate that. When you have just lost a loved one, you tend to feel separate from so many people. When you are sad and you see life going on about you, I've had this feeling, how can these people be happy? How can things go on? How can life go on when my life seems to have stopped? The flow of life is always moving. We're always in that flow, whether we're going with it or whether we're holding on somewhere and feeling it flow over us and hit us. You can change the slide. This is a nice peaceful slide while I tell you a story. This reminds me of oneness. Friday night, I was working. Yes, it was St. Patrick's Day. I was working, and so I had gone into the Learning Center. Sometimes I call it the church office. And I'm working there, and I realized that it was getting late. And it was 10 o'clock. And I thought, you need to go home, you're tired. And so I went out, got all my stuff together, I went out, got in the car, and my car would not start. It's 10 o'clock on Friday night, and I start thinking, what am I going to do? Who am I going to call? Everybody I know in Colorado that has fessed up to me goes to bed at 8 or 9 o'clock. It's 10 o'clock. Why am I here? And then I thought, wait a minute, the closest person is Jerry Boyson. I'll call Jerry. He can come over. He can help me. I looked at my phone and I didn't have Jerry's phone number. Jerry, your phone number is in my phone now. So I called AAA because my mother buys me AAA every year for my birthday. So I called AAA. Well, it will be an hour wait, and they will be there. And so that was fine. We went through what was going on and what the car was doing and not doing and all that. So they're going to tow it somewhere. Then it dawned on me. Years ago, I would have been really upset because I felt all alone in the world. It takes me back to when I went to college. My father and mother dropped me off at college the first semester. And I remember vividly my father saying, "Do not come home." They got in the car and drove off. And I felt so alone. I didn't have that spiritual connection to know that I really was not alone, but I felt so alone in the world. So sometimes things happen to us in that flow of life, and we feel very alone in what's going on. That didn't happen for me, strangely enough, because I realized Spirit was there with me. And so I immediately went into gratitude. And I was so thankful that I had a AAA card and could call and could get help on coming on its way. I was thankful for my 92-year-old mother who gives me AAA every year. What a blessing. I was so grateful that I was at the Learning Center. So I could go inside into the warm rather than staying outside, because what did everybody tell me when I moved to Colorado? Make sure you keep an extra coat and gloves and warm things in the back of the car. And what did I not have in the car that day? A coat and hat and gloves. I had a light jacket with me because it was a warm day, but the sun was down. It was 10 o'clock at night and it was getting cold. So I was grateful that I had a warm place to go. You know, in the Learning Center, they have a bathroom. We have water. I even had some snacks out of the car with me. So I was really all set. And I thought, they're going to tow the car. I think it's an electrical problem, so they're going to have to tow it somewhere. I don't need to go and spend the night in the car, wherever they tow it to. I'll just sleep here in the Learning Center. I've slept in airports before. I can sleep in the Learning Center. 6 o'clock in the morning, I'll call Kenny Johnson, and she can come and get me and take me back home, and life will be good again. I felt really separate, but then I recognized through my gratitude how connected I am and how the universe is providing for me. And so as Charisma read this morning, because of the unity underlying all life, no man lives entirely unto himself, but through himself he lives with the whole, which whole embodies all other lives. So the unity underlying all life brought me a tow truck driver, albeit it was 2.5 hours later. But it brought me a tow truck driver who was very frustrated because he was not able to find me. And I certainly was frustrated because it wasn't the hour wait that I was expecting, and it was now 12:30. But I had a choice. And so I knew immediately when I saw his level of frustration, I wanted to be something different than frustrated. And so I offered peace. I thanked him for his persistence of coming to find me. And I told him where the car was because I had walked way down the street to try to find him. And the fact that I was thankful for him and let him know that changed his attitude. He backed the truck up so that he could load my car on it. And then something changed, and he said, you know, let's just check the battery and see if we can do something with it first. So he got his little battery charger out and came over and tried to jump it, and it didn't work. And he said, well, let me try something else. Okay, so he backs his big truck up and pulls it around and connects up his big truck to my car, starts revving the engine on this huge truck, and my car started. He said, now don't turn it off, buddy, don't turn it off. I'm like, don't worry. I went inside, gathered up my stuff, came out, got the car, and drove back to Franktown. It was good. The next morning, my car started. Woohoo! I could go meet the realtor because we were supposed to be looking at houses. The tow truck driver also said, tomorrow you've got to have your battery checked because I think something's going down. It's not good. You probably need a new battery. So you can go to AutoZone, you can go to Napa. Either one of those places will check it for free. I said, really? Yes, they'll check it for free. Oh, thank you. So after my experience of looking at houses yesterday, then I went to AutoZone. Their battery tester was broken. I got to bless them and drive to Napa. Napa had their battery tester, and they tested it and said, yes, your battery is really going low. You'll be fine for a couple hours, but you need to get a new battery. We don't have any of those in stock. Go to Advanced Auto Parts. Okay, so I'm driving to Advanced Auto Parts, and I think the battery's going to be good for 2 hours. I need to stop and have lunch because it's 1 o'clock and I'm really getting hungry. So I stop to have lunch, I come out, and the battery is dead again. The car won't start. I call AAA. It'll be an hour to hour and a half wait. I said, really, last night it was 2.5 hours. And I thought, Rick, what are you doing? So I'm like, bless her, thank you. Let's see what we can do. And this guy walks up and says, do you need help? I've got jumper cables if you need them. And I'm like, okay, I'm still on the phone with AAA, and she's going through trying to figure out if they have a battery they can sell me, which they didn't. So the guy said, I'll be inside if you need help. So I go in. All I remembered was it was some man in a gray t-shirt. So I walk up to this man in a gray t-shirt and I said, are you the guy that offered jumper cables and to give me a jump? He said, no. Oh. He said, but I think I have jumper cables, let me go see. So he goes out to his truck, he pulls out the jumper cables, he brings this big truck over and jumps my car, and we get it started. I saw the other guy later, he was out on the patio. He was still there. But I didn't need a second jump. I drove to Advanced Auto Parts, they had the battery, and they put it in for me for free. It was like, life is good. So staying in gratitude through this situation made life flow much easier for me. What if I was fussing and cussing and carrying on each step of the way and being nasty to each person that I interacted with? What would have come back to me? Instead, the AAA person Friday night was trying to find out where they would tow my truck to. I've never had this happen. They said, here, within a mile, here is this auto repair shop. They have a really good rating on the internet. Here is their address. Here's their phone number. Here's their name. Here's their hours of operation. And here's their website. I was like, oh my gosh. Because I'm in gratitude, look at the good that's coming to me. So when we're in the flow of life, does life always work just perfectly for us? No. Sometimes we have the hiccups. We have the things that happen that could make us feel separate. And it's our choice how we're going to do that. So from Charisma's reading there, what was my legitimate purpose? It says that when someone is given to a legitimate purpose, then their life will be in that flow. And so my legitimate purpose was to show up as love and His goodness in this world. And that meant even when the car wasn't starting. And I found all these people that I was interacting with were responding in such positive ways. So we're all part of the flow of life. And it's our choice if we're going to react against it or if we're going to embrace what's going on. You know, when the water is flowing down a hill, when it comes to a barrier, it doesn't sit there and say, I can't go any further. God, now what am I going to do? There's a rock in the way. It goes around the rock, right? It doesn't create a problem for itself. It simply moves forward, however it needs to move forward. And that's what we can do in life. There was a story I heard a couple years ago, and this was told by Barbara Waterhouse. Barbara and John Waterhouse are the co-directors of and founders of CSL Asheville in Asheville, North Carolina. And Barbara said that she had trained her congregation. Maybe I should have her help me train you. She had trained the congregation to say every morning, as soon as they woke up, today is a happy day. Today is a happy day. And they were committed to this. And they have, I don't know, 300 or 400 people in their center. And so 300 or 400 people every day in Asheville, North Carolina is saying, declaring, today is a happy day. She said that she'd heard CNN was doing a piece on the happiest places on earth. And so it piqued her interest because of their project and what they were doing. And she tuned in that Friday night to listen to the CNN special. And they went through the happiest country on earth, the happiest people on earth. They went through all these different places and all the happiness that was there. And then they came up and said, we're going to be announcing the happiest city in the United States. When they came back from the commercial break, she was ready to see, well, who was happy, because she knew they were. And they said, the happiest city in the United States of America, Asheville, North Carolina. And Barbara said, we did that. Yes, it was our consciousness that did that. So we create that flow of life when we're ready to. And we can declare that for ourselves. And we change the course of how that flow of life is going when we use our positive attitude. Well, we also change it when we use our negative attitude. And it's a lot harder. So it's our choice. We get to do what we want to do. This simple slide here shows you that when we have an event happen in our lives, we get to make a choice about what we're going to do with it. And then we can have our response. We don't go directly from the event to the response. We get to choose. And that's where your mother taught you count to 10 before you say anything. You might have heard somebody say, take a breath, breathe, relax. Think about how you want to respond. And that choice is what we get to do. And so if we're living life being aware of what we're doing, then we're able to move forward in life in a positive way. If we're on automatic pilot and we're allowing negative things to pile up in our lives, life is going to be much difficult for us. We are not victims. We are not victims of life. We are victors, and we get to choose to be that victor. I have a few things that I found here from a Zen master about going with the flow of life. And so I just want to share these with you. The first thing says that we cannot control everything. Boy, is that the truth. Because if I was master of this universe, I would do things a little different some days, right? So recognize we can't control everything, but we can control our response to it. So the second part is to become aware of our feelings. When something happens to us, become aware of what you're feeling, what you're thinking. Because when you're aware of it, then you can make a conscious choice of how you're going to respond. The car doesn't start. I'm really upset. It's late. I'm tired. All of a sudden I have to go to the bathroom and I'm hungry. But if I go to gratitude, things work out for me. So being aware of my feelings, I can choose how I'm going to respond. The next step was breathe. Breathe. That's our choice. That's where you count to 10. That's where you decide what kind of choice are you going to make. How are you going to show up in the world? How are you going to show up in this situation? Are you going to be compassion? Are you going to be love? Or are you going to be anger and venom to the world? The fourth step is practice. Because this is a spiritual practice, and I can guarantee you, unless you're a lot better than me, you're not going to do it right every single time. So we get to practice. And when we mess it up one time, we can make another choice. We can go back and choose again. And choose to do things differently in life. The fifth step I love. It says laugh. Laugh, because laughter will help us to detach from the situation. Laughter can help us see the absurdity of the situation. Who is working at 10 o'clock on Friday night on St. Patrick's Day? I may not be a green beer drinker, but shouldn't I be out eating green French fries or green mashed potatoes or something? Who's working at 10 o'clock on Friday night? So I had to laugh at myself. Didn't have to, but I did. And then the next step is meditate. Meditate or take a bubble bath, drink some hot tea, something that is nurturing for yourself. Something that allows you to de-stress yourself. And you might try several things to be de-stressed there. And then the final step is to enjoy the flow of life. Because life will continually flow. It's always going to be flowing. Are you going to go with the flow, or are you going to fight the flow? There's a reminder that I had from our textbook on page 272, paragraph 3. Ernest says, people often say, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to make a choice. We must realize that there is an intelligence within us that does know. This guidance is just as true in India, where people are Buddhist, as it is in America, where people are Christians. It is just as true 10,000 years ago, before the advent of Christianity, as it will be 10,000 years hence. So sometimes when those things, those hiccups, if you want to call them, in life happen, we might say, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. That's when we stop. When we breathe, when we meditate, when we treat ourselves with compassion, we de-stress, and we allow that inner guidance within us to come forward. We allow ourselves to hear that still, small voice that does tell us what to do. Because deep down, in the center of all of us, we know how to manage life. We know what to do to make our lives good. Tapping in to the divine source within. And as we do that, our lives become wonderful. So being aware of our beliefs, stopping to laugh, detach, and meditate will help us connect with that intelligence that is within us. And it certainly helps us navigate the flow of life in a good and positive way. Let us pray. There is one power, one presence, one intelligence that moves through each one of us, that wells up from the core, the heart, the soul of each one of us. And that intelligence knows how to guide us, navigating life. We are each one with that power and presence, and as one with it, we are victors in life. We are able to show up as we choose. Love, compassion, peace, joy, whatever it is that we want to display to the world, we can choose to do that, and we do choose to be that positive influence. And when we do, our lives are wonderful. Things don't throw us off center. We stay connected with our source, and we are grateful. For life is good and very good, and I know that for each one of us here. And we show that forth in the way we live and move and have our being in the Spirit each day, all day, every week. And so it is.